I'm telling you, what a back-to-back broadcast we have for you today. Did you see the title? An absolute horror show. Over 1 million people just went missing from the United States overnight. We're going to show you the facts and the figures behind what occurred. And there's absolutely zero chance of recovering any of them. But if that's not bad enough, on the second half of what we're going to do over at Restricted Republic, Joe Biden calls out Restricted Republic. A lot of other people too. Do you know why? And do you know what about? Well, we're going to show you what he said, why he said it, and then how our entire world is about to change. Now, before we get there, if you haven't subscribed to my channel here, I certainly hope you will. Also, if you haven't gone to Restricted Republic, you need to get over there to enjoy this broadcast to see exactly what he did, what he said, and why he said it. And trust me, it will change your perspective on everything you've known for about the last 2 years, because everything's about to change in a way that nobody expects to see it happen. Right now, Restricted Republic to enjoy Christmas 21 at monthly checkout. That's going to get you 45 days for $1. Lisa, Haven, and I put all the broadcasts there that we can't discuss anywhere else. The news that matters for you. And trust me, spend your holidays just getting caught up, and your perspective on everything will change overnight. But now let's get back to this broadcast. So over 1 million people disappear. Now, it has nothing to do with this statistic of U.S. records highest increase in nation's homicide rate in modern history, but I didn't want to miss this. Because although the statistics, even here on CNN, murder rose sharply in 2020, but data is lacking across most of the country. Not Portland. We're talking overall. So CNN puts up these graphics. It's number of violent crimes in the U.S., and you see over in 2020 on the right-hand side, and then you see homicides, and you see a distinct spike in the homicide rate. Very clean cut. Everybody knows this. Well, except HuffPost. And what they have to state is entirely different, but this just goes to illustrate how the mainstream media covers for the real narrative. What they stated, here's why right-wing media is in a moral panic over crime. They missed this headline, published on the National Review, American Carnage Goes Endemic, or this one on the Wall Street Journal, yes, the crime wave is as bad as you think, and obviously they missed the one on CNN. But they have their own take. Beyond these statistics, their own spin. Are you ready for it? It is true that the murder rate has increased. That's, by the way, within the same article here. Here's why right-wing media is in a moral panic over crime. Opening paragraph. It is true that the murder rate has increased. You can't make this up. I'm just using their own words against them. According to the Centers for Disease Control, between 2019 and 2020, murders rose 30%. 77% of the murders recorded between 2019 and 2020 were gun killings, up from 73% the year before. So, while plenty of pundits and politicians have blamed the protest that began after the murder of George Floyd and the Biden administration and liberals in general for the rise in murders, the truth is that the rise began before all those factors, namely when Donald Trump was still president. We won't cover the fact that they could have been shut down, quashed by an appropriate leader to call in the amount of violence. No, they're glazing over that. They're going to when it started. But remember, initially they wanted you to believe that there was no rise in crime at all. Actually, they call it faux outrage. Fake outrage about crime isn't really about concern. What it's really about, the moral panic, is about 2022 midterms and 2024 presidential elections. If Republicans and conservatives can convince enough nice white people that they're only minutes away from being the victim of a crime and only the GOP can save them, as history has shown, that's an electoral advantage. What was the purpose of putting the word white people in there? Murder affects everyone, not one race. But the race card will come out again as 2022 and 2024 approach. We told you that. But they're hiding for two other very imperative facts. It will directly affect the voter base in many ways. Let's start here. U.S. immigrant population hits the highest in history under Biden. Study says 14.2% of American residents are foreign-born, the most in 111 years. So we'll go for the Center for Immigration Studies. Make sure we're verifying all our information as we always do at Restricted Republic for you. Immigration population hits record 46.2 million in November of 2021. So we'll go down to the charts and you see a rapid incline. It's been ongoing for a long time, and that's not the issue here. As a share of the total U.S. population, immigrants are 14.2% in November of 2021, the highest percentage in 111 years. It's tripled since 1970. The number of immigrants in the country grew by 1.5 million between November 2020 and November of this year, declining by 1.2 million between February and September as a result of COVID-19 restrictions. However, in just the last month when this was published, between October and November of 2021, the total immigrant population increased by 470,000. A lot of new people. So you're probably going back to the title now and wondering, then how did over 1 million disappear? Well, it's a different story, a much darker story. And if you believe in the globalist, you'll understand why this is mission accomplished. That reduction in the population that's been covered time and time again, well, it happened. In a form, in a percentage, in a quantity, almost unbelievable. U.S. population growth at lowest rate in pandemic's first year. There's a bigger title. It's actually the lowest rate since the inception of this country. There's charts provided by the UN as to where they projected us to be on the top and where we're at. Not quite the same number. Chart and table of U.S. population from 1950 to 2021 was supposed to be, and published, by the way, this is published. 2021 was supposed to be 332,915,073. They published this. By the way, that number is not accurate. The number is not 332.9 million. How about 331.8? It appears over 1 million people just vanished. The United States grew by only 0.1%. Go back to these percentages. 0.62, 0.6, 0.59% increase, and then projected 0.58. Projected or printed? Because this was printed as fact. The current population of the U.S. in 2021 is 332,915,000, 0.58% increase. However, this, published on the Associated Press, the United States grew by only 0.1%, with an additional only 392,000 people added. Well, with that spike in immigration, then do we actually lose more than what's being reported? Let's run a simple calculator. I'll tell you how many we lost. 1,115,000 lives were never born. That is horrific. A staggering statistic. Nobody puts a quantity behind it. Of course, they don't want you to see the quantity. But here's the reality of what just happened. During the first year of the pandemic, U.S. population growth dipped to its lowest rate since the nation's founding. Only 392,000 people added, or 0.1%. If that doesn't send chills up your spine, I don't know what will. Since April 1st of 2020, or about half a month after lockdowns began, the nation's population increased from 331,449,000 to 331,893,000. Here they're stating it's 444,000. The variance is so minimal it makes no difference, or 0.13%. See, two sources. You need 2 sources at least before you report anything, and there you have it. 2 sources. For the 12-month ending on July 1st, the nation's growth was due to a natural increase, 148,000, the number of excess births over deaths, and net international migration of 224,000. This is the first time net international migration, the difference between the number of people moving into the country versus out of the country, has exceeded the natural increase for a given year. The first time in history that that's ever occurred. So what's truly the story of the pandemic? Because to me, that is the story of the pandemic. And it's why we cover globalism so closely. It's why we cover open borders so closely. Because we just had something occur in the United States that's never occurred before. Over 1 million lives. A shift in so many ways just happened before your very eyes. And you won't get that on your mainstream media. Because there's the reality behind what's happening. Now we're going to go into our second segment, where Joe Biden decides to call out restricted republic. Oh, just wait till you hear what he said. To enjoy that, remember, Christmas 21 monthly checkout, 45 days, $1, restrictedrepublic.com. If you haven't subscribed to the channel here, please do. We love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.